Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unconventional GMs, the channel where we run pacey ttrpg one-shots with pace, vim, and vigour. And yo-ho-ho, me hearties, for Talk Like a Pirate Day 2024, we are playing Pirate Borg today. There's a darkness upon the sea. Fouler things than men plague the waters of the dark Caribbean. Undead, ships of bone and flesh, terrors from the deep. Our crew are pirates. They've been on many adventures together with the rest of their loyal crew on their ship, the Unconventional. Pirate Borg is a game built for Muggbug, sort of rules light, old schoolish play, full of flavour. And you can already tell from Gaz's little product placement thing there, it is a beautiful, beautiful looking book. So well worth picking it up and seeing where it goes. We're going to be playing a published adventure for it as well, Unmoored. A great little one-shot from M. Allen Hall. Check it out on itch.io. Just before we play, it is an old school style game. So we're going to be playing it straight, letting the dice fall where they may. So maybe don't get too attached to some of these characters. Depending on what happens, they may not last the 2 hours, and we'll fill them in with some of the rest of the crew back on the ship from there. Speaking of our crew, I'm sure they're feeling really confident now after that introduction.
This was all new to us.
Yeah, why don't we go around and introduce yourself and just briefly the character that you are playing today, starting with my co-host on Unconventional GMs, Gaz.
Hi, I'm Gaz, one half of Unconventional GMs and one half of What Would the Small RPG, the UK's premier RPG podcast. I'm going to be running today Templeton. He is, if he was the movie version of him, it's David Niven. If you know that might be an old school reference that some of the younger viewers have to go and Google. But if you imagine a man, quite a suave man in his 50s, playing someone who's supposed to be like 30, then that'll give you an idea of the sort of old school film version of him. So every time it comes to Templeton, things are in black and white inexplicably, even if the rest of the film's in colour. But he smokes cigarettes. You don't know how he's managed to get Galwaz in this strange land in which we are, but he has. He's got a nice silver cigarette case for them with the skull and crossbones on, things like that. So he's quite dapper, agile, has a finely crafted rapier. In fact, everything he has is sartorial elegance. Everything is of superior quality to the rest of the crew.
Fantastic. Yeah, Galwaz in a fantasy pirate setting. All those people who know about D&D tacos are going to be losing it when they watch this. Right. Fantastic. That was amazing. Becky, who are you and who are you playing?
Hi everyone, I'm Becky. I'm playing Isabella Silvertooth Clare. She's drop dead gorgeous, sort of inspires envy wherever she goes with her fantastic looks, has a tendency to talk to herself in undesirable situations, and loves her flintlock pistols and cutlass.
Lovely. Fantastic. And finally, the third member of our crew, or is he? Ben, who are you and who are you playing?
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Ben. I'm the other half of What Would the Smart Party Do, the UK's premier podcast. Today, I will be playing Chesterfield, a gentleman of some erudition, some education, owner of 4 buckets, keen senses, worn-out books, and many other trinkets. But that's probably not the first thing you notice about me. In fact, I am playing today a monkey, a very clever monkey who can talk. So if you see me in a film, I guess you would be thinking of potentially, is it King Julian from Madagascar? Technically a lemur, but I think it counts.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun there. So, as I say, this isn't your first adventure. We're going to find out what's happening in the immediate past to your crew. But for now, let's set sail. There's an island spoken of in soft tales in taverns and docks that rises up from the depths of the ocean, drifts and then sinks again, over and over again. The sea lich Granzko leads his undead horde here, and he's locked in a battle with the water-breathing cult of inevitable darkness for dominance. But you know the island has finally come unmoored. So you are determined to go to this island because you've been hired, maybe for money, maybe you were forced into this to satisfy some terrible debt to somebody, to go and kill Granzko and finally bring peace to this island. So we'll leave it open as to how that happens, and maybe we'll find out during the course of the adventure. For now, though, let's get a sense of what our characters did in the previous adventure that they did. I'd like to go around in the order that we just did, and I want you to just describe a cool little action scene of your character doing something. Feel free to cut between scenes, add to what other people have done, or just make it yourself. But let's get a sense of what you were doing, what piratical swashbuckling exploits you were doing in the previous adventure before this. Starting with Templeton. Where do we see him and what's he doing?
It's a scene in a seedy bar, cantina, drinking hole of some exotic location in this fantastical world, where he's faced with an equally deadly, in fact, rumored to be more deadly, Benter. But Templeton's got a secret weapon. He gets better when he drinks. So there's loads of little glasses all lined up as we take the last shot, and he's winking to his crewmates, thinking this will be the one that finally gives him the abilities he needs. And as he takes his last shot, and his opponent does, and ends up mostly face down on the table, Templeton drunkenly pulls out his sword and kills the drunken stupor of an opponent, going, "Ah, not such a good fencer now, are you?" Ah, and draws out his blade with a flourish.
Fantastic. Meanwhile, what do we see Isabella doing while this is going on?
I think Isabella will have caused, there's a little bit of been some chaos somewhere, and she will be using both of her pistols, shooting at oncoming foes or people who she's brawling with in this seedy bar, and you'll see her like sweeps off her tricorn hat, like dabs her brow with like a little skull and crossbones bandana she wears on her wrist, and just before she goes to take another shot is like, "Oh, what are we having for evening meal tonight?" And then carries on just like shooting away, sweeps her tricorn back on her head.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, what's Chesterfield up to in this scene?
Dr. Chesterfield, as once was, with the rest of the crew of the Her Majesty's survey ship, the HMS Lizzie's Teeth, were unfortunately waylaid by a flesh-eating cult on one of the darker islands near Haiti. So the last time you would have seen me was spread-eagled and strapped to an altar with a strange priest hovering over me with one of those wiggly daggers with which he was going to cut out my heart. However, a curious lemur was loping through the trees at the time and dropped down onto the cultist's shoulder at the very last moment, upsetting his ritual mightily. The cultist flashed round with his blade, removing one ear and one paw from the poor, hapless lemur. As the magical ritual that he was enacting went awry and our bodies were swapped, there is now a very stupid human living in the treetops of that island, on the run from the undead legions, seeking him down. They killed my crew, but they didn't get me as I scampered away into the darkness.
Fantastic. Great backstory dealing there, Ben. That's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Straight up there. So,
top tier.
So you're on the choppy waters on the Unconventional. You are sailing towards the Unmoored Isle. As it comes into view, the sea spray flashes across your faces. You can hear the shouts of our crew and a soft shanty being played as it's determined, probably through drawing lots, I'd imagine, that you three are the three that will actually go ashore and kill Granzko, as the rest of the crew carefully take a few steps back when the captain asks for volunteers. I don't think you were the winners of that lot drawing exercise from there. But before you ventured here, of course, you've done your due diligence and research and heard some rumours about the island. So do you want to all just roll me a D6? And I'll tell you what you've heard about the Unmoored Isle. So you get there.
Templeton gets a 6.
All right. Okay. So yeah, up on there. So we'll start with Isabella. While the drinking holes that you were in, you heard that whenever the island surfaces, treasure hunters flock to it. Chesterfield, while you were up in the rafters of some tax inspector's office, you heard them talk about the island and them say that while underwater, The island collects treasure from the deeps, so all kinds of things unknown to man can be found there. And Templeton, you asked around your contacts at the dock, and you found out that the buildings on the island, the constructions there, are even older than the Spanish ones. There's ancient temples and altars that predate the known history of this island. So you're sailing forwards. You can moor nearby, and the three of you take the jolly boat out to it. You can see you're landing on the west side of the island. It's steep, covered in jungle, looks fairly inhospitable, and you're wary of the reefs that seem to cover the island. And as you sort of row towards the landing port, you can see this looks to be a sort of abandoned port. There's rows of warehouses along the waterfront, and an abandoned village strikes out before you. As you come nearer and see, you can see a number of fish-headed humanoids are wandering around the village. They seem to be building sort of towers out of wood that have taken, so like putting massive stakes in the ground and tying them together. There's chanting all going on. You estimate there's around about 9 or 10 of these fish-headed cultists around, but no other sign of inhabitants here. How do you approach? What's your plan of action?
Well,
Do they look avoidable in any way, shape, or form?
They certainly look like they're quite distracted now. So you might be able to. You can probably moor the boat just in a quiet pier and make your way into the town. But yeah, you might be able to sneak around them. Not definitely avoidable, but skill roll avoidable, definitely.
In my experience, cultists are very single-minded. While they're distracted building their fell towers, perhaps we can sneak into the main island itself. I'll snap shut my little brass telescope that doesn't have any lenses in it and flick a wink to Isabella.
I'm up for giving it a go.
yes.
Unless you
Well,
have any
that's it.
particular desire to speak to fish heads.
No, not at all. Not after last time.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, indeed.
Guppies never shut up. We'll be here all day.
Right, let's try and shall we try and sneak past them then, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, in order to try and sneak into the island and maybe hide in one of the warehouses so you can get the lay of the land and try and see what's going on here, I'm going to need the first check of the game. This is going to be a presence check. Going to be difficulty rating 12. The way we'll do it, instead of having everyone roll, because then just someone will fail, whoever's sort of leading that sneaking in can just make the roll for everyone on presence. I'm not sure who is the best to do that. Feel free to choose somebody who's.
I think we'll both look at Chesterfield. Like, we'll both look at each other over his head and then look down towards.
Yeah.
I stand up like in the kind of sinister way that monkeys do when they're at full stretch, and I look down at myself, my missing ear, my one hook where a paw used to be, and I go, "You would think, wouldn't you, that I would be stealthy? But no," tapping my nose. Agile, yes. Clever, yes. Stealthy, no. We're happy to, if you want to follow me, though, let's scamper through the trees.
What have I told you about tapping your nose with that hook? You're going to with no nose as well. You carry like that.
All right, I'm happy to make the roll. Not my finest moment, but we will see.
Well, let's see.
Adding presence to a D20 roll.
Yeah.
So I am rolling
12 or higher.
I have rolled a 12, and adding my presence of nothing still gives me a 12.
That's better than my presence. Let's put it that.
Fantastic. You shouldn't have doubted yourself. All the sneaky people are back on the ship, hiding when they did that before.
Yeah.
When they were drawing lots, they were all
Volunteers.
hiding barrels, and you didn't see it. You're able to sort of steal into the warehouses and get a sense of what's going on. Again, there are 10 of these fish-headed cultists that are putting these sticks in the ground and chanting. And you can notice sort of two things as you sort of pad through these warehouses. The first thing is that they seem to be preparing for a ritual that is very, very imminent, if you see what I mean. They've nearly got a full circle of these sort of totem pole things done, and they seem to be just ready to sort of assemble in a circle around it and do it. The second thing you notice is that you thought when you landed it was high tide, and you would be expecting the tide to be receding now, because that's how tides work, as we all know. Wait for more authentic nautical knowledge later in this session. But it's not. Actually, the water level seems to be rising a little bit. And as you look back, your boat's a bit higher than it was when they're almost as if, well, maybe the water's rising, or maybe the island's starting to sink. And maybe this ritual is something to do with it. The other thing you can do, Chesterfield, is that while you're in the while you're hiding in these warehouses, you might come across something useful. So do you want to give me a D10 roll for what treasures you found? Because these warehouses do indeed have
always worth rooting around in stuff.
Indeed.
Okay, my D10 shows me a 3.
Ah, fantastic. That is, you find there's a little chest here, and as you sort of pop it open naturally and give it a sniff, you find that it's full of ash. You reckon there's about 2 doses of ash here. Ash is a special substance unique to the dark Caribbean. It's the remains of defeated undead, and it has strange magical properties. You will know that it can have physiological and psychedelic effects once consumed. So in some places it can be really, really valuable, but it also can be really dangerous if you take it or if you look to it. Could you just give me another presence check? Difficulty class 12 again, Ben.
Absolutely. We have a 9, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's ash.
You two, listen up. They've carelessly left some of this incredibly valuable drug laying around. I'm going to stash it in one of my 4 buckets that I carry with me. That'll help with the stealth check.
Rattling around.
And my shovel.
Yeah.
Monkey size, like a small.
I hope they're monkey size buckets, yeah.
My buckets are shaped like castles.
They come in different colours as well.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so
inside each other handily.
So you can get the lay of the land as well about where to go. So the whole island is covered in this really dense jungle, and it's quite steep. It goes to, there's a peak sort of to the northeast that it goes up to, and it looks fairly impenetrable, this jungle. You can see that there are tracks though that lead to the north around the coastline, and you can see that there are some signs that people have gone that way. There's some footprints going that way, and also another thing going south. And you will know as you approach there was a lighthouse on the southernmost tip of the island as well. So your 2 sort of options are to go beyond this place is north to, well, follow the path north to see where it leads, or south to the lighthouse.
Of course, there's also, now that we know a little bit more about what they're doing and how imminent this ritual is there any appetite for disrupting this ritual or seeing what happens? I mean, I don't kind of want to see what happens when they do it, because me and rituals have a bad past, but are we going to walk away from this imminent fish person ritual that can mean no good?
I'm tempted to.
Well, I was going to say, when has a ritual ever done anybody any harm? But
yes, quite, yes. I'm getting triggered.
I'm quite tempted that we go to the lighthouse and get a good view of the island, so we can see from that high vantage point everything that's going on, and perhaps observe the ritual from there, where we should be quite safe from whatever's going on.
I like the idea of a safe distance. That seems very, very good idea.
Is this scurvy cur and his lich army likely to be arriving on a boat? Is it worth going the coastal route to see if we find their vessel?
So you know that the lich is on the island. To be clear, this is his lair.
Oh,
So he was
they
already
have not
here
arrived
somewhere.
here.
And
Okay.
these are his fish dudes, I presume.
Well, they may be. You know, he's got an undead army.
He does.
You know that he's locked in combat with the cult of the inevitable darkness. And
Yes,
it was
of course,
not
that's
clear
mentioned.
whether those were humans or fish people.
Fish people.
I think it's clear now.
Yeah, it might be clear.
Yeah.
Suddenly
I
got clear.
believe we've stumbled across the cult of the inevitable darkness.
Inevitably,
Yeah.
we have stumbled across it in the dark.
Wandering around in the darkness, we have found. Yeah, I think we let the enemy of our enemy be our friend and continue
Yeah,
what they're
indeed,
doing to help
indeed.
reduce the Lich's power. And we come on. In fact, I now insist that we head up to the lighthouse so we can get a good vantage of everything that's going on the island.
No, I think that's fair. I reckon the only missing part they have of this ritual is 3 hapless adventurers. So
Yeah,
let's take that ingredient out of the equation.
Yeah, let's take our 2.5 bodies that they might need to finish off the ritual.
Yeah. Okay, to the lighthouse.
Excellent. So you set off to the south. I'm just going to roll some dice to see what happens there. Oh, fantastic. That's the ideal reaction.
Captured by fish people.
Yeah. Inevitably. Yeah. So you set off south, and the path winds its way around this jungle, and you can notice as you go along that there's signs on this thick jungle, even at the edge here, of the island's time at the bottom of the sea. You can see there's like desiccated coral growths. There's seaweed hanging from branches, and there's the occasional bits of wood that look to have come from shipwrecks and such that it's picked up as it's risen and fallen again. You get sort of about halfway there. It's maybe a sort of good hour's tramp, and then all of a sudden you feel a sort of rumbling in the ground that sort of stops you in your tracks a moment. There's a minor quake sits you, and as you turn around, as you go a little bit further, you're round a little raised promontory, and as you look back, you're able to see back north to the village. You see that in fact there's just the tips of those towers they were building, and that location has now fallen underwater, and the whole island is sort of listing a little bit there, as if to remind you that you're on a bit of a deadline here. The island has already started to sink from there, but you can continue. The lighthouse, you can get to it and you sort of pad, but there's you probably stop with a view of it. It's an old Spanish lighthouse. It is intact, but obviously all the glass and windows has been taken on. You can see the seaweed all around it. As you approach, you can see that there are some of these fish head cultists, about 4 of them, that are around it, seemingly having an argument and gesturing towards it. And as you do this, do you want to just make me the nearest thing to a perception check, which I believe would probably be presence again, actually. So yeah, do you want to give me if you will give me a presence check at DR 12, see what else you might notice from this situation.
Oh, I have sharp eyes.
As it turns out.
I'm blind.
I'm having a cigarette at this point. What we should do now?
Yeah.
I've looked at the sun. Oh,
Yeah, you're so relieved that the lighthouse is still above water. That's the main thing you notice. Chesterfield, as you look through your looking glass with no lenses in it, you spot some movement in the glassless window of the lighthouse, and think you see a sort of bony skull peek out, as if there are maybe some undead within this island. The cultists are sat around arguing about what to do on the outside of it. As you listen to them as well, I think you can make out their the language they're speaking in isn't entirely unknown to you. You do feel as if you might be able to communicate pretty well with it in your sort of pirate patois that you will use. They're not speaking some ancient language of the deeps or whatever, almost as if maybe they were men once that transformed into these fish head cultists.
Okay.
Do you wish to creep closer? Let me see what they're.
Well, lads, I smell bones within, and these are inevitable cultists. Seem to be pondering how to go about besting these bony guys. Should we perhaps just wait and see what they do, or join them in an assault on the tower? What do you say?
I like the idea of getting on their side a little bit. Perhaps we should join them in some sort of assault and then maybe betray them later.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's.
I mean, I don't know if you could hear. I assume that they would be speaking in some kind of like undersea patois, but no, I think we can communicate with them if we can even sense their motivations.
Well, let's go and chat. Everybody likes smoked fish. Their fish, I smoke. Everything. I mean, it just seems like everything will work out swimmingly.
Match made in heaven.
Swimmingly.
Sounds like it's time for the first reaction roll as you approach.
Yeah, let's reveal ourselves to the cultists.
And they
Time
spin
and
around.
tide waits for no man.
Yeah, they spin round with their sharp harpoons towards you. As
hands up.
They seem alarmed to see her, and they say, "Whoa, who goes there?"
Fear not, my perch-headed companions. We're here to help.
Here to help? What? Here to help? Help the
Have you not
sinking of the
seen
island as prophesied?
Oh, yes, but there's bony monstrosities that lay within the lair above you. That's no mere abandoned lighthouse. No, it's filled with skeletons and zombies. They wish to rush out when your backs are turned, but fear not, we are here to help. We've already spoke with your companions on the beach, and they said you might need some assistance. Yes, here we are. And I'll give a flourish with my rapier.
They sort of look at us. Oh, yeah. And so indeed there are terrible undead monstrosities within there. We were just deciding the best course of action to deal with them. We need to complete the ritual in this location, but whether we just do it, but whether if we do it, they'll harry us with rocks from the lighthouse. We can do with it being cleared out. We were just discussing how best to do that.
Well, I think the answer is before you.
Indeed.
Indeed, and you spoke with our brethren at the village.
Oh, they're very pious. I did enjoy that. They gave us great sermons and lectures. It was very thrilling.
And has the village? He like leans in and says, "Has the village sunk already?"
Oh yes. Did you not feel the earthquakes and the tremors?
Friend, we are behind schedule. We must get to it. Yes, brethren, I'll be very grateful for your assistance in helping us. We'll proceed with the ritual if you go ahead and deal with these skeletons.
Yes, if you could make it a very noisy ritual, just form some kind of distraction for us, that'd be very good. And of course, we'd like to hear it as we're in the tower. So make sure your voices are nice and loud.
Yes, of course. Well, we'll start the chanting straight away. Very well, very well. And they sort
of more cowbell.
Yeah, and they sort of gesture back to the lighthouse for you. So is the plan to go and like rush these skeletons, try and get the jump on them and take them out?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So normally in Pirate Borg, we just have a D6 roll for initiative that just says whether PCs or enemies go first. Because you're trying to sort of seize the initiative and charge at them, which is probably not what these skeletons are going to expect. I'm going to let you make a check to automatically get the first go, if you see what I mean. And so I think probably I'm trying to avoid everything being presents, but it might be. Oh no! If you're going to rush in and just do it, let's have agility. That sounds about right.
Oh yes.
We're all happy with agility.
Yeah. So maybe Templeton, you seem to be the one sort of erstwhile in charge here. Certainly, that's what the cult think. Do you want to roll me an agility check?
De facto charge. Yeah, I get a 15 in total.
Fantastic. I was going to say neither 12, so 15 is enough. So you three pirates spring forward, bursting open the door to find it's whatever was inside this lighthouse has long since been trashed and ripped apart, and also been under the sea and back up again, and under the sea and back up again. But there is a spiral staircase running down the outside, and as you burst in, a trio of skeletons clack down with their clacking bones. with sharpened phalanges from their side and leap upon you. However, you have the first. You have initiative here, so you can act first. You can go in whatever order you want. I'm going to suggest maybe Templeton. You go first, and then pass it on to someone, and we'll do you three, and then they'll go, and we'll see what it is. Normally in combat, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a DR12 check, strength or agility or presence, depending on what you do. But as you're on the offensive now, you can try and attack them. So go ahead, Templeton.
Yeah, as everything goes black and white again as he kicks the door in, which is made out of polystyrene and falls into bits.
Yeah.
He leaps through and he's going to flick flack with his finely crafted rapier and like cut all the tendons and bits of sinew that are holding the bones together. So there's just like at least in his head, there's just going to be like a pile of bones left when he's finished, but we'll see what he rolls.
Let's see how this goes.
13 to hit.
That is what you need. Well, you need to 12, so 13, even better. Go on, roll damage.
Better than we need. And then he does 8 damage.
Wow. So one of the skeletons, there's one who's got a sort of tricorn hat, but one of the corners has been chewed off, leaps forward. But you do indeed scatter his whatever tendons or mystical things were joining him together. And before long, there's just a pile of bones with this dusty, ripped up tricorn floating on top of it. Yeah. From that fantastic Templeton, who are you going to pass to next? Who goes next?
It's got to be the cheeky monkey.
Okay, Chesterfield. 2 of these skeletons are rushing down at your companions. I don't think they've targeted you yet because they assume you're a mere monkey.
Oh, they're going to see the error of their ways. Okay, so I'm going to do that upright lurching towards them thing, and I'm going to smack them round the kneecaps with my shovel.
Fantastic. Go for it.
That is a strength test, I believe.
It is indeed.
There's one thing skeletons are friend. I was being buried again.
Yeah. So what stands in your way? Why doesn't this work? Due to no fault of your own, because you're obviously an able.
The fact that my weapon is a child's plaything.
Yeah, you don't. It does hit them on the legs, but just bounces off. There's a dent in it. Then
it's the sound of a glockenspiel.
It does. The thing for it. Brilliant. So I'm not going to bother asking you. It's obvious it's going to be Isabella that's going to act next. Yeah. So go on, Isabella. What do you do? There's 2 of these skeletons still facing you.
Yeah, Isabella's going to take a step back to give herself a little bit more space, and is going to swing her 2 pistols around her fingers, and then take a shot at take 2 shots at one of the skeletons.
2 shots at one of them, or a shot at each?
2 shots at one of them, I think. Yeah.
Go for it. You can roll to hit twice if you want. Yeah.
16.
That will hit, I believe.
Oh, and a 4.
Okay, so yeah, your first one hits. Your second one does not. Do you want to roll your damage?
Yeah. 4 points of damage to that one skeleton.
Fantastic. That is enough to blast its bony skull off. Maybe that's why the second one missed, because it was already down. It wasn't stood where it was before. It's still there. Okay, it's the skeleton's turn, and I think probably they need to test morale at this point. So when I say they, I mean the one skeleton remaining. Yeah. It needs to test morale. So indeed, it is demoralised and does attempt to flee.
Skeleton.
So this skeleton, the one remaining skeleton, attempts to race past you and get out into the into the jungle and flee to its master. Are you doing anything to stop it?
What I'm going to suggest we do is pretend to be letting it get away, call the fishmen to stop it, and then attack the fishmen as well to stop the ritual.
A reversal.
Excellent, excellent.
Oh.
So, as he runs out, I'll be running like sort of theatrically behind him. Quick, stop him! One's getting away.
They're chanting. I'm just going to roll for them because they are chanting really loud. See if they actually hear you.
As requested.
It echoes around the thing that was established, wasn't it? Yeah, no. This skeleton barrels outside, and this circle of fishmen completely oblivious, and it rushes like straight through them.
Can I put a hand on Templeton's shoulder and be like, we could the other option is to follow the skeleton if it leads to its master.
Well. Fine, yes. No, that just makes sense. Yeah, I suppose. I didn't like my plan better, but sure, whatever.
I think there's plenty of fish on board.
There's
You'll have
plenty
all
more
the
fish in the
coloured
sea.
skink.
Yeah.
You'll have all the coloured skink you need when we're back to the ship.
Very well, very well.
Okay, so are you going to give chase to this skeleton?
We'll still theatrically be like, wait, no, we've let one escape, and then follow.
Stop it for a cigarette break every now and
Yeah.
again.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, the skeleton travels north, and you see him go to what seems to be a sort of completely obscured jungle canopy, but slide between some reeds. And before you know it, you're on a concealed path that you wouldn't have found otherwise, except maybe if you climbed to the top of the lighthouse and looked at it. And you can follow him going north if you wish. This goes sort of uphill and up a ridge that's leading sort of towards the mountain. Just to be clear, you've got that as you're in the jungle, the fish people are still behind chanting. There's also, from the lighthouse, to be clear, another route that leads, a non-obscured route that leads round the side of to the other side of the island that goes round the outskirts. So you can continue to push forward onto the ridge towards this mountain, or if you want to, you can sort of sneak back, hope the fish people haven't noticed, and go around to the eastern side of the island instead. What are you thinking? Isabella, maybe we'll go to you to decide this. Because
I think the best option is to follow the skeleton back to its master and slay it. Let's get this done.
Yes, I agree. I concur.
Excellent.
Hard agreed.
Excellent. So it's not, you don't have to actually run. It's pretty hard going, and it's hard going for the skeleton as well, even with his undead legs. And so as you pad up I just have to roll that dice again to see what happens here. Oh, that's interesting. You almost feel as if you hear the ground rumble, but you don't. And as you sort of glance back, the lighthouse area is still above water. It appears to be.
Keep heading uphill, I think, just generally.
Not as pious as their friends on the other beach, clearly.
Okay, as you're sort of following this this skeleton, you can see ahead of you there's actually a group of figures that are also climbing the mountain. There's definitely a look of the undead about them, but these aren't skeletons. These look to be sort of recently deceased. You can sort of smell them as you're downwind, and you can see that they wear sailors' gear from a sort of range of different time periods and nations and ships, and they seem to be staggering up the mountain, just moaning softly. You think these might be like drowned sailors. So they're crawling up the mountain basically ahead of you. So the skeleton's gonna go sort of past them. You all go in the same direction. You can choose to, what do you do with them? Do you continue? Do you try and get past them? Or do you hang back and let them go ahead of you?
How many are there?
There are 6 of them you get as you come closer.
We're outnumbered then.
I quite fancy the Chesterfield approach, as we've come to know it, where we acrobatically leap and swing across tree limbs and jump and get past them, because they crawl on the ground. They can't get above about 6 inches.
Yeah.
So as long as we perform mightily and swash our buckles, we should be fine, shouldn't we? And I'll cock an eyebrow to the crew.
Well, I'm absolutely fine with that approach, as you can imagine. Let's just hope you can keep up.
Indeed.
I am willing to follow. Yeah, my only concern is that I would want to be put out of my misery as a sailor. Do we owe our brethren a true death?
Oh, this is it's flashback time now, because of course I lost my crew to an undead, and these are on some obscene pilgrimage towards a fate worse than undeath, perhaps. I feel for them, I do, but I think eyes on the prize, Isabella. If we can destroy the lich that's controlling them all, then perhaps they can go to God's arms after that.
You were right. To the trees.
To the trees. Let's
The
take to the branches.
Excellent. So you're all trying to swing and to overtake these drowned sailors and presumably the skeleton and get to your next location there. I'm going to suggest that this is going to be a check. I think it probably makes sense for Isabella to lead this one because the last two encounters were sort of Templeton and Chesterfield. It's probably going to be agility. So, I mean, shout up if you're terrible at that, but it's not stopped us making rolls before.
I'm probably I'm gonna take out my lucky monkey hand, and just be like, "Come on, be my guide."
I'm going to make this a little
kiss.
I'm going to make it a little bit easier as well because they are like undead and they're not really that bothered by anything apart from climbing this mountain. So I'm going to make it DR 8 for you.
Oh, I got an 8. I got a 5 + 3.
There you go. Yeah, so you managed to. Let's have a little montage of you all swinging above these sailors. As you look down, you can see that they appear to be. They are very slow because they're just mindlessly crawling up. They're not really even following the path that the skeleton took. They just seem to be trying to get to higher ground, as if something is calling them out from the deeps to summon them. But you can overtake them, go further, and before long, you come across a big lake. Sort of the ridge flattens out, and you're in a little depression between the mountain. You can see there's a few ridges here, and there's a lake, still and calm, locked in here. No sign of. You can see that it must run out to the sea eventually here, but there's water flowing in on the far side. The water is cold and pure. You can see there's a couple of shipwrecks sort of just jutting out from bits of the lake. Who knows what treasures they may hide in them. But the most obvious thing that you can see is a cage right in the center of the lake, maybe 10 feet on a side, cubic, and inside it is a huge fishman like the cultists who's wearing a sort of robe, and he's got various trinkets and things on him, and he is just chanting deeply and sonorously. This echoes around the sort of depression that you are in. You can also make out, so that the skeleton that was running away just skirts around the lake and continues going up the mountain. You can also make out there's a rowboat at the far side of the lake, which has just 3 skeletons in it. Again, they're stood stock still, just watching the fish person, the cultist in his cage from there. What do you do? What's your plan here?
Just for clarity, this cage in the middle of the lake, is it on a raft or something, or is it?
It seems to be floating. It is sort of half submerged, so half of it's above the water, half it's below. It seems to be floating. Whether it's on a raft below the water or something, or it's been weighted down, or whether it's just the lake isn't that deep at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Free the fishman?
No. I don't think so.
Templeton. What
But
do you
none
have
of that.
against... I know it was a bad experience for you last time.
A freeing fishman, that sounds a terrible idea. While he's causing the skeleton's consternation, he's locked up. I think that works out beautifully for us. He's keeping some skeletons occupied. He's perhaps helping with the disruption of the island, which should keep the lich's attentions off 3 of us sneaking about.
The only thing that prevents me saying, let's keep chasing that skeleton and eyes on the prize, which I know was my strategy just 10 minutes ago.
It was.
Is shipwrecks and the potential for treasure.
Wow. Now that's more interesting. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if it's worth... I mean, we've been climbing a long time now. I've only got little arms and one prehensile tail, starting to get a little bit like we might need maybe a dip in the lake, maybe go for a little swim, see if we can come up with any pearls.
Yeah.
Sounds good
add
to
more
me.
weight. Add more weight to the rest of the journey. Yeah, that I can. There's sense in there somewhere. That means.
Let's not
Is there?
steal gold. Let's just have like pearls and rubies and things.
Oh, the less heavy of the treasures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's be sensible about this.
As you all glance towards Chesterfield's empty buckets,
Yeah.
there's still room yet.
Not completely empty. There's some sand in the bottom of one and a cornetto wrapper.
To the treasure then.
Okay, so the nearest shipwreck that's jutting out, you're going to have to swim out to it. But as you go in, the water's cold and pure, and it is quite refreshing. Actually, this is fresh water, which is obviously the chance to bathe in fresh water is a rare treat for you.
Good
pirates.
for the fur.
It is indeed. It's good. Yeah, good for your coat. And you can pad along to this shipwreck. It's burst out, and you can see there does seem to be some treasures within. But before you get to them, as you all sort of assemble on sort of the bits of the shipwreck that are above water and begin to plan how you will dive down, you see some movement in the water. And before you can react, you notice tiger fish as big as dogs are swimming to your location, probably lured by the disturbance and the fur of a tasty monkey to feast on. And they leap out at you to attack. Well, I'll roll and see whether they attack first or you attack first, is what happens. There are 3 of them. And they are, imagine, I don't know what tigerfish are in real life. Obviously, more authentic pirate stuff. These have got stripes like a tiger on, and big, like Finding Nemo, like Nemo in Finding Nemo, but like tiger stripes and big and massive fangs to eat monkeys and humans. Yeah, does that sound about right? I think that's right. Yeah, and enemies go first. So these 3 tigerfish are going to leap out at the 3 of you. All of you need to make a defense check, which is difficult. 12 agility check.
All right.
Oh dear. I got a 9.
Oh,
Chesterfield.
Oh, that's a fun.
Oh, I have a feeling
there is a fumble mechanic here as well.
There's some kind of table imminent in my future.
Right. So
Devil's Luck. Don't forget your Devil's Luck if you want it.
Well, yeah, I was considering it. Yeah, but I think you should always let a 1 stand. I mean, you can cancel a fumble with it, can't you? But that seems like a weasel words, really, for this sort of game.
Yeah. So, well, Templeton, you see these coming and leap out of the way. It's probably
I just start swimming a bit slower, so the 2 go ahead.
Throwing some sweetmeats forward towards them.
That's it. For some chum.
Tasty monkey. They're probably easier to see in black and white because of the.
Yeah, that's right.
That's so you jump out of the way easily. Isabella, you do not. So you are indeed bitten by one of them. You're going to take 6 points of damage. And
Wow,
can you make me a DR10 toughness test as well, please?
Sorry, did you say I rolled a d10, Ross?
So no, a difficulty class 10. Yeah.
And I get -1 to that. So 10.
That's enough. Okay, so yeah,
Oh, good.
Yeah, as they bite you, you can see that there's some like green venom in them as well, but it doesn't seem to take on that. You maybe to show that. Just so you taking the fumble, Ben?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
We all want to know what happens when you fumble in this game.
We do, yeah.
So you take double damage. So you take 10 points. 10 points of damage.
Oh, what?
I certainly don't want to see that.
Oh no! 10 points with the inevitable tiger venom.
Well, and then you'd have to make the check. Just what? How do you feel after 10 points damage?
I feel like the negative numbers are a thing, but I don't know what that means in Pirate Borg. I'm guessing.
Well, the good news is that you can't go negative. You just go down to 0, and then,
that is good news.
Then I don't think you die immediately.
Also
but you
good news.
You can use Devil's Luck to reduce damage. You might want
Yeah,
to.
minus D6 damage.
Now's the time, isn't it?
I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge, but I've looked like the broken table that you're rolling is. Yeah, it's not.
I'm already a wounded monkey.
You've already got an ear and a hand missing. So.
Yeah. It's along those lines, the broken table, along with an entry that's just instant death.
Okay, well, on
a
my
D6.
beautiful Pirate Borg character sheet, just goes a lovely little pentagram with Devil's Luck in it. So it's also got a D2, D4, D6 little radio buttons underneath it. What's the impact of
That's
those?
how many of those you recover each time. Morning.
Cool.
Okay. In the centre of it should have how many points you are, and I think you've got quite a bit because you're a monkey. So.
Oh, is that right? Oh, this is my special ability. I'm a lucky monkey. Right, I will spend one of those points to take a D6 damage away, but I presume I'm going to need to beat 2, otherwise I'm still going to end up on a 0. This is upsetting.
Well, you might need to spend. You can spend more, I think, after that.
Here it
I'll
comes.
let you burn your Devil's Luck.
Hey.
Oh, so
Okay.
so 4 from 10 leaves me 6 hit points down. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah. So how do you manage to just avoid being literally eaten by a tigerfish? In this,
Well, as previously established, where once I had a paw, I have a hook. And that is a brilliant thing for latching onto a tigerfish's lip when you're mostly imbibed. You can pull yourself back out again, and kick it away with my little monkey paws and swim for the surface. And away.
Excellent. So yeah, you see Chesterfield covered in blood, his own, as he climbs up. The water's red now. You can see there's some other movements in the water here, as well as other creatures seem to be looking towards you as well. Do you want to make me that toughness test as well, Ben?
I really do want to make this toughness test. Having gone through all of the luck, let's see if my incredible monkey toughness can save me from poison's death. It can't.
Okay, you just have it's +2 difficulty for the next 3 hours.
Oh my word!
As you crawl out and then throw up into the water as you feel. So Chesterfield's looking quite injured and quite peaky as well here. But the good news is it's your turn now. You can attempt to dispatch these tigerfish.
Yeah, Isabella just says to herself as Chesterfield hurls up, she's like, "Oh, fish food."
I float by.
Yeah. Excellent. Do you want to go first, Isabella? That seems to make sense as you managed to. Well, you didn't avoid them, but you
yeah, I think seeing how delicious they obviously think Chesterfield is, and they're now submerged in the water. I'm gonna grab Chesterfield by the tail, and in his semi-conscious state, just hang him over the water and try and encourage them to jump out, and then attack.
What?
And attack with my cutlass.
The classic monkey bait maneuver.
He's on the hook as well. So
Excellent. That sounds like we need a roll.
I mean, as long as Chesterfield allows that,
I'm not sure I'm in a position to disagree.
He is moving around quite a lot. It doesn't.
That helps attract them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a 13.
That hits. Do you damage?
Okay. Get rid of that one. Oh, 5 damage.
Fantastic. You managed to dispatch one of the tigerfish. There were just 2 of them left swimming around. Let's go to Templeton now.
Yeah, Templeton's adjusted the grip on his rapier, so he's now using it like a spear or a harpoon or something. As he basically likes it's like with the big fish follows a small fish. After one of the tigerfish goes after the monkey, then after the depth, Templeton appears like a fish of his own to attempt to spear one of them.
Beautifully put.
Yeah, getting far more than he needs to. Yeah, and doing just 1 damage, which doesn't seem very much.
That one is still.
I'll spend a point of luck actually to see if we can make it better. 4 points of damage.
That takes it out. That is enough. What turn of luck helps you to actually dispatch this tigerfish?
Yeah, my initial thrust, because I've got this beautifully finely crafted rapier, just goes in and out and doesn't do much about it at all, which seems upsetting. You see that he's unbothered by this, and in fact, it's that leaking of blood that sets the other tigerfish on it that does its job for it, because it sniffs the blood in the water right next to it. And one devours the other from this minor wound it seemed to be inflicted.
Indeed. And there's just one with another dead one inside it left. Chesterfield, you're feeling a bit peaky, but Your
I
chance for
know.
revenge.
Yeah. And I'm hanging upside down, being used as tiger
I
fish.
kind of set you down after.
Oh, thank you.
If you like.
Right. Well, I'm not quite got
Yeah.
my sea legs at this point, so I think I'm going to have to bath all over a tiger fish, and use that as a melee attack, essentially.
It sounds exactly like a melee attack. Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
So green monkey innards.
Monkey vom. Yeah.
Let's go. Oh no! I think I'll get it all down my front.
Just done
Oh,
yourself,
no,
isn't
my
it?
shoes
Yeah.
now. Some of my little shoes with the buckles and everything.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like,
God.
glad I set the monkey down.
Splatters
Yeah.
the deck.
Yeah, so you are left with that. The next round, there's just one of them. They are going to test morale because there are two of them. And so I think that might. Oh, just yeah. Yeah. So at that, as you start vomit, it doesn't hit it, but it doesn't really want to swim in that area of the water anymore. And this one has had a nice meal of it, so the tigerfish, so it sort of swims away and leaves you, and you are left on this wreck and ruin, able to do it with a very green and poorly looking Chesterfield. But the rest of you are fine having attempted them. Do you want to search this wreck to see what treasures you can find?
Yes.
Do you want to roll me a d10? Well, one of you.
D10 with that.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, Gaz, do you want to roll a d10?
I get a 1.
And Becky, do you want to roll a d100 as well? Because I'll let you have both of these. So one, you have a rusty locket. You find a rusty locket there, and as you pop it open, there's a picture of a woman in it who looks uncannily like your own mother.
Creepy. I rolled a
Looks like
67.
you.
Yeah, you get a silver bracelet of a snake eating its tail.
Can I turn it into bullets?
I'm not sure. I'll look for the crafting mechanism, but I don't think there is such a thing. But yeah, you can turn it into money when you get back to civilization and sell it to someone. That's
Buy bullets.
Buy bullets with money.
Yeah, and then you can turn that money into bullets. That's how it normally works. And this, Ben, as you're sort of barfing around and things, I'll let you have the choice. You can roll a d10 on the Unmoored treasure table or a d100 on the normal Pirate Borg treasure table.
Oh, I think a specialist D10.
Specialist d10.
Yeah. While we're here, while I'm particularly unmoored. Oh, I've rolled a 1 as well.
Have you got a locket of my mother as well? What's going on?
Yeah, you've got a lot. I think you've got a locket of. Oh, it works. You've got a locket. As you pop it open, it'll be your mother, but it's your obviously your human, your doctor's mother.
Oh yes, my monkey mother. That would be too
weird. Very weird, wouldn't it? But
yeah.
So we maybe have
I
don't know if we have a little flashback to the last time you saw your mother's from there. So we have a tender moment in here.
Yeah, that's going to be melancholic. Yeah, fade to black
Yeah,
or sepia probably. Yeah, when I said that she was on the docks at Southampton waving us off, she thought I'd come back with a doctorate, not come back with a
hook,
simian outlook on life.
Yeah.
I think there's just like a Vaseline smear image when I'm looking at my locket, and it's basically David Niven but with a wig on and a beauty spot.
Lovely. And as you sort of swim back to shore, still not noticed by the cage or the skeletons, you can take stock of your surroundings, and you notice that you have this path now carries on up the mountain, and you could actually get to the top of the peak. You can just about make up the sides of there's a stone castle at the top, which looks entirely like the kind of place where a lich might lair. So there's a path going back up. You can also see there's a little secret path going down this way. You can see it from this side because you've got the advantage going down towards the village, which is now very, very much underwater. And in fact, as you look at it and inspect it again, there's a little sort of rumbling of the ground, and you can see that from that village heading north, the next location up there, which was a smuggler's camp that you've not been to, also falls underwater and the whole island begins to show signs of sinking there. And you probably need to take some grog, take a bit of a rest, catch yourselves. And that's what we're going to do in real life here as well. We'll edit it out, so it'll just be a few seconds for you viewers at home, but we're going to go and get a barrel of rum down us each to make us feel better about Ben's character nearly dying.
Yeah.
So we'll see you shortly, viewers, in a moment. Welcome back. We have charged our glasses with many, many barrels of grog and rum and are ready to continue on our quest to defeat the sea lich Granzko. We left our adventurers. They had fortunately found lots of plunder and booty from the shipwreck in the centre of the lake. However, Dr. Chesterfield was looking decidedly peaky. They had a close brush with death at the face of some titanic tigerfish. So the good news is, I'm going to assume that you've rested for sort of 10 minutes, taken what would be, fantastic.
Cheers.
I like the test tube-like nature of that shot glass as well. So you freshly distilled.
Yeah, I have got like grog merchant as one of my abilities. So I've got this little set of tubes.
All of your skulls are in the dishwasher, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah.
You monkey skulls.
I thought you were the dishwasher. That's what you were after.
So the good news is you've rested for 10 minutes. In Pirate Borg, you have had a short rest. So you can all recover a D4 hit points. That will be more useful for one of you than it will be for the other two, I imagine.
Can we get extra hit points that we haven't lost to get as temporary help?
Sadly, no, you can't.
Oh,
no,
I thought I'd ask just in case.
You can't, yeah. It'd be nice if you could, but no. So yeah, you're still feeling poisoned, and you think for like the next encounter, probably you're still gonna be poisoned. You might feel better after you've been to the next place. So you're at this landlocked lake. Sorry, go on, guys.
No, so I was just going to distract you further by saying I'll be patting Chesterfield on the back as I sick down some of my own poison, and so that this is how you get accustomed to it, don't worry. You'll feel better soon, and on the way back we can get a tigerfish to bite you again, and it won't be as bad next time. We'll keep one around, and eventually you'll become immune to it. That's how I did it anyway. I'll say drinking a vial of tigerfish venom.
Oh, just the smell of it. I can't even.
Lovely. So you are at this landlocked lake, and you can see, that another location has sunk beneath the waves. But you have a path that leads up to the peak of the mountain, and from then you surmise onto the castle where Granzko may leave. But you could also, if you wanted to, go back down and skirt the outside of the island, if you wanted to, not pay any attention to the fact that we generally run these games in 2 hours or less. So feel free to not complete your mission if you prefer to just have a nice wander around, look at it. It is a sandbox. You can do that. Let's see. Chesterfield, what's your feeling about where to go next?
I think always up. So I quite like the idea of taking the battle to the lich. I know that things are afoot around us all the time. I have the feeling of imminent danger. If we don't deal with him soon, we'll all be learning how to breathe underwater.
Yeah, if we want to visit the coastline, we can just wait an hour and the coastline will come to us.
Yeah.
I agree.
Time is of the essence.
Yeah, and in fact, you can note as you take there's a pretty obvious track where the drowned sailors you avoided before have just been making their way up in that direction as well. Yeah. As if they're inevitably pulled towards it. So you set off up the hill. I'll just roll to see what happens.
As we're wandering up the hill, can I just be like, what do you think of the idea of pretending to be some undead sailors as we get a bit closer?
I think it's a flawless plan. And then I look at my own body and think,
Does this mean we have to shave Chesterfield?
Again,
I'm up for it if you are.
I say pulling out a throwing knife.
Yeah, the sharp end of the rapier. It takes a while to do this.
Now stay still.
I can do you back. Templeton can take the front.
Why do I always have to do the front? It's got all the fiddly bits on it.
I'm right here.
Still feeling a bit poorly as well, Chesterfield. This isn't helping.
Stop shivering.
The gusto which you suggested this plan. Oh no.
I think we have a little flashback to like 6 other missions.
Oh, I think we don't.
Which
Next
is
card.
involved the same plan. Just goes,
Yeah, but he
Same
wasn't in monkey form
gambit.
then.
well, as you make your way up, that this discussion there's a slight distraction as you feel a little rumble on the ground, and as you crest, you just see to the north that an old Spanish fort that was on the seabed at the north of the island has indeed fallen into the water. The island sort of rights itself and lifts itself as the ritual continues. But you can make your way forward. You're approaching the mountaintop. So do you want to just complete that? I'm not sure if we had a conclusion or any agreements to that plan before. Do you want to just continue that discussion and see where it ends? Because we had an idea.
I quite like that we didn't all agree, so I'm just like, ugh. The mountain. These two are like, what?
I know. Templeton's stripped to the waist, and he's got like mainly black paint with like white bones painted on and stuff, with this really unconvincing kind of Halloween costume type of thing he's got going.
We've both just shaved a shoulder of Chesterfield.
Yeah, I think it's a patchy job we've done.
Got a little mohawk.
Yeah. Chesterfield's proving harder to get your hands around than normal. Surprisingly spry and occasionally covered in slippery vomit. So it's quite hard to get him there. So with Templeton incognito, but the rest of you just as you are, you crest the top of the mountaintop. The first thing that you notice, well, you probably notice these things at the same time. Top of this, there's a 20-foot tall pedestal, and you can just see above it. There's a sphere of black, deepest sort of shining black that even as not wizards or magically, like, you could feel like there's magic emanating from that. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing you notice. The second thing you notice is an army of skeletons stood all around it, big circle around it, all like just staring at this pedestal. They are entirely entranced, and as you arrive, you just see these 6 drowned sailors. Sort of the same happens to them. They sort of fall in line and are just like staring at this orb at the center of the pedestal.
I feel like we should have a closer look or something.
Yeah, can we pretend to do that, but actually be looking?
But yeah, we'll do that thing people do at concerts where, although you've been stood there longer, they come shoving past you but pretending like they're not doing. And just getting in front and elbowing a bit. And sort of generally making our way towards the front, but trying to be like cool about it.
Right in the way of somebody really short.
Yeah.
Holding 4 beers in each hand. Excuse me.
Okay, just let me roll this as you count the undead, no doubt. So there are 47 of these skeletons.
44, 45. Bollocks, I missed one. 1, 2. Stop moving.
Yeah, there's definitely more than 10. You run out of fingers many times as you try and count. So yeah,
because you've only got 5.
yeah.
6 if you count the hook.
Well, he's got 3 paws on a tail, so he's counted in base 16.
As you're making your way through, I think that doing this without this, I mean, they are very distracted by this orb. But I am going to want a check from somebody to lead this, because it sounds like there's something that could go wrong here. There could be some stakes. Yeah.
You've misunderstood, I'm sure, the way we described it.
Templeton, are you leading this sort of
I think so.
Sneaking.
By virtue of the fact that everybody took a step backwards, I think, yeah, that's what's happened. Is it night time yet?
I think we can say that it's just coming to dusk. That seems reasonable to give you your bonus to it. I think.
So I can use my
Oh.
sneaky B word.
Ah, beautiful sunset.
I bet there's a lovely sunset from up here. I was just thinking the same.
It's a lovely sunset. It's hard to concentrate on it with the 47 undead minions around you, but the sunset is indeed lovely. It's the silhouette of the evil orb is set off really nicely.
So is this an agility roll to sneak and hide?
I think it is, yeah. Give us an agility roll.
So,
DR12, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I got a total of 16 with all my bonuses, so plenty.
Fantastic. So you pad closer to it, all three of you, going this way and that, and evading the gaze of these skeletons, which is relatively straightforward because they are sort of looking up at the orb. You get closer, and you surmise that they are indeed all entranced by this thing, and it is the power of this orb is what is controlling and indeed building, from what you've seen of the drowned sailors, this army. The pedestal, as I say, is 20 foot tall. It's carved with deep arcane rituals and runes and sigils, but they don't make it. They do. Chesterfield, particularly, you notice they could be make it significantly easier to climb than if it was a smooth pedestal. What's your thinking? You've got a moment as you sort of crouch down at the bottom of it with these like 50 odd skeletons all around you in the midst of this undead army.
So they're waiting. It looks to me, my submission is I think they're waiting for the headline act to come out on top of that pedestal to speak to them all. So perhaps they need a new supporting act of a band I'm going to call the Monkeys. So why don't we? Do you think that they're so stupid that they're just going to wait for their master, and while they're in their stupor, we can ascend that pedestal and see if we can beard the lich in his very lair?
Well, undoubtedly.
We can certainly give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, now that the sun's going down, despite a couple of hours ago, I'm thinking of taking up drinking poison again because that sounds. I've got a bit of a thirst for it. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty game fit for climbing and infiltrating. Do you want to follow me up the pedestal?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
lead the way.
Give me one of those there ropes that we always carry about us, and I'll scamper up first.
Excellent. So this would be DR12 to climb up. I'm going to make it DR10 for you because you're an expert climber.
I'll see your 10 and take it back to 12 because of my poison state.
Yeah, using agility for this as well.
Yeah. Okay. Oops, nearly rolled a D4, which would have been.
That would have been hard to get a 12.
Difficult. Yeah. Oh, I've got +3. That makes it 14.
That is a success indeed. Yeah. So you're able to scamper it up. Sorry, I wasn't clear on the stakes, but it's pretty obvious. There's an undead army around you that they might have noticed. You're able to get up there. As you climb atop this pedestal, everyone is still just, all the undead are still just looking at it. This orb is sort of suspended above it. You feel like you could almost like touch it or grab it. No.
Not without my taller friends. I want to make.
They can follow. I mean, they can follow you up if you want. You can.
Yeah. Come up. Right. Quick, everyone. The arcane energies are building. All my hair's sticking up. Well, the bits have still got attached to me. Yeah. Like I'm a Chernobyl resident.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, you're on the top of the pedestal. The undead army are still just looking at you. They
That's weird. That's weird. I can't turn around and look at them. That's just odd. Sneaking suspicion of being watched.
What's this part of the plan then?
And this is part 2 of the elaborate plan that we sketched out in advance.
Yeah, come on.
Looking through my beaten up book, finding out there's no more pages in it.
Do you think we destroy the globe?
No, I don't think we. I mean, normally we would like shoot it or stab things, wouldn't we, to resolve our issues? I just feel like that might set it off in some way. What do you think, Templeton? Can we poison it?
Perhaps, like if you remember the old captain's parrot, there was nothing but a nuisance and used to draw all around it with its tall tales. But immediately when you put a blanket over the cage, it was quiet and people soon dispersed. Perhaps we could use our capes and spare clothing to cover this orb and dampen its light, and that might disperse the skeletons.
Oh, that makes sense. I thought you were going to suggest we feed it crackers.
That's part 3 of the plan.
That was. Yeah, I was going to suggest that. Unfortunately, after swimming with the tigerfish, my crackers are now a molten.
Oh, your poor
the
crackers.
slush.
Smush. Cracker smush. I hate that in the pockets as well, right in the corners. Oh.
Right. Well, then let's gather our spare apparel and get like the sailmakers that we probably should have brought with us. Here, take my fez, size of a thimble. See if that.
I'm going to take out my worn-out book and start like I'm plastering leaflets.
Oh, I've read that one. I've got one.
Slapping pages over them.
A paper mache.
Paper mache, a mask, a big balloon.
While this is going on, can I have a look and see if there's any way that Granzko is going to approach this area? Like, is there?
It's funny you should say that. There's some stone steps that lead up the mountain towards the castle. That's ominously dark as a silhouette here.
Yeah,
the light, and you can see there's some movement around that castle as well. As if there's a perfect view of the castle from here, and vice versa. You surmise.
Well, I'll take off my tricon and put it on top of the globe because I don't want it to seem like I'm not invested.
Okay, interacting with the globe. I'm not too clear who's leading this. It might be Templeton. I think how we'll do this is a spirit check.
Okay.
DR12, because you're trying to basically disperse the army or
at least dampen it down or something.
Dampen it down or something. And I think it's pretty obvious that might go one of two ways. So I think we'll do it as a spirit check as you try and.
I roll a 12 and my spirit is 0, so I get exactly 12.
Indeed. So what happens is you put your various fez, books, and hats, all of your randomly generated hats go on top of this orb. As you do this, it falls to the ground, to the top of the pedestal, and it seems like as it's covered up, it's just its arcane energy is dispersed, and you hear a clattering and a crackling from all around as no longer bound to this orb, the 47. Sorry, that's 53, including the drowned sailors. 54, because there was that other skeleton that escaped. Begin to set about one another and fight.
Nice.
Some of them, though, that they're going at whatever thing. You do look down, and some of them are like half-heartedly trying to climb the pedestal to get at you. Just at that point, I think the sunset reaches its peak, and a pitter-pattering of light rain. There's a crack of lightning, and I think, Isabella, you were looking towards the castle before. You see a shadowy, seaweedy figure flying towards you from it.
Flying?
Sorry, come on.
And as you sort of stand about the pedestal, there's skeletons climbing up to get at you, but there's also this figure in deep seaweedy robes flying towards you, and you hear a voice shout, "Disturb my orb, would you, fools? You shall die." As he floats down towards you.
I found Granzko.
Yeah.
Oh, good work.
3 pieces of 8 that skeleton with the bullet hole in the back of his head is the last one standing.
No bet.
Ah.
I'm going to bet on the one with a hook.
So you've got a moment to sort of prepare. Is there anything you're looking to do before Granzko is going to land on this pedestal and going to have it out with you?
I'm going to, I mean, I could poison my blades, but against skeletons and liches, I'm not entirely convinced that's going to help very much. So,
I would rule that it does. It works. Maybe not against the skeleton, but against the lich. He's unliving life. Grog is certainly a way to dispel the undead.
Brilliant. I'm going to douse my rapier with grog then. Yeah.
Well, I never said that I'd reloaded my pistols, but if I haven't, that's what I'm doing.
Let's face it. This point, I better just reload. Luckily, you're quite fast at them, but you start reloading one. Yeah.
I shall scamper to a vantage point.
So, yeah, you're on the vantage point,
yeah.
And the lich is coming to you.
I'm going to scamper to a higher vantage point, a higher position. Which may be the top of Templeton if it has to be. I mean,
the highest position is on top of somebody else here, or on top of the orb.
I'm
Yeah,
clearly
on top of
tallest. So
On top of the orb, on top of Isabel's tricorn.
on top of the hat, on top of the.
On top of the orb.
Yeah.
Excellent. You get there. And so at that point, Granzko is going to land and howl in anguish. Just as he does, 4 skeletons manage to claw themselves up to the pedestal with their sharpened phalanges. The good news is you're going first. So you can see Granzko is... you can see the remnants of what once was one of the cultists beneath him. He's got that very fishy look, but he's covered in his robes as you get here are made of seaweed, as if he's picked it up when he's been submerged and then picked it up from there. And he has in one of his hands a twisted one. In fact, it's one of those curvy daggers, Chesterfield, like you saw before. In the other hand, he's got a smaller version of the orb that you've just covered up that glows slightly in his hands as he makes to attack you. Maybe we go to Templeton first. What are you going to do?
I shall say Avast and flourish my blades and have a offensive stance and then have a go at this lich with the so-called cape of seaweed, trying to drill him in a vulnerable part with my blade. And wait for this dice roller to catch up with me. There we go. Got a 15 total.
That is definitely going to hit. Do you want to roll your damage? And tell me what you got.
I will roll my damage. I get a 6 damage. And then because it's covered in grog, he has to make a toughness DR 14 test or lose some additional health.
He does not make it.
Then he shall lose an additional 4 points for a grand total of 10.
Okay, yeah, his arcane wards take some of that because he does have some armor. But yeah, he spits and shouts at the grogs. You curse me.
What a rum do, I'll say. I look around at my companions.
There's a complete
Straight
silence.
face.
Even the clacking of the skeleton stops.
They all like looking at you.
Just like a zombified groan that comes from the crowd.
Excellent. Chesterfield, you're on top of Templeton. So what do you do
No, I'm
now?
on top of the orb.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, top of the orb, especially after that last joke. Okay, well, let's soften him up a little bit. So imagine a monkey astride this big orb. He's going to level a flintlock pistol at the big bad guy, both hands on the trigger. He's going to heave on it and hope that the recoil doesn't send him back over the edge. So, shooting. I believe we suggested this might be a presence roll at the start of the game.
It was that is the rules for it. Yeah. So presence.
Yeah. So, am I still suffering the effects of the poison from earlier?
I think, given everything that's happened, you've managed to purge yourself of any remaining poison. The shaving incident was the last straw, and you feel much better now.
Oh, my gunpowder was slightly wet from my underwater excursion. My shot goes wide.
Indeed, there's a sort of damp boom as it goes wide. And finally, this round, Isabella.
Isabella is going to step to the side, past out of the side of Templeton, and take 2 shots at Granzko with her pistols.
Go for it.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Was it a 12 to hit?
It was, yeah. I mean, 20 is a crit as well, which
I got a crit and a miss then.
So a crit is double damage, and armor protection is reduced 1 tier.
Okay, well, I would like to use one of my Devil's Luck to get maximum damage, please.
Okay.
Nice.
So that's 8 damage.
Okay.
Please.
Let me just...
Is that 8 doubled or is that?
No, it's 4. So
okay.
4 per pistol, but only 1.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah. And the other damage?
No, that's it. That's all.
The other shot missed.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah. He sort of staggers and looks at one point as if he might fall off the pedestal. But he steps forward. He's going to try and there are 4 skeletons that are up here. Do you want to all roll me a defense check to try and avoid their attentions because they're just trying to stab you and cut you?
Do we get agility for defense? Sorry.
You do indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, good. That's
And you've got no chance.
A popular choice among the players.
Because, yeah, that
rule.
means I've succeeded rather than failed. Get challenged.
Excellent. So you've all made it. So you all
Yeah.
avoid the skeletons attacks. That's great. Templeton, you're going to have to check again as this wavy dagger is waved in your face as Granzko tries to stab you.
I easily avoid it.
Do,
Sluggish
indeed.
maneuvers.
Indeed. And he does. Okay, yeah, he the orb glows as well, and one of the 4 skeletons that are up there explodes, sending sharp, bony shards all over you, Isabella. Can you test me an agility DR 12, please?
12.
Oh, fantastic. You managed to duck out of the way of these pony shards before they cut you to ribbons. It's back to the top of the round, and it is your go again. Granzko looks... in fact, he's going to... He might test morale. Let me just see what they... it's unlikely, given that he's actually defending his lair. But no, he's fine. He's you will die. You were lucky that round. It's your go. Templeton.
Yes, I point in the direction of his castle and say, "Egads, who is that entering into your castle?" And then stab him.
Spins
He's
around.
looking over his shoulders. Yeah.
What? The cultists, no.
Getting a lovely hit. He takes 8 damage, and then if he's still alive, he can roll his toughness against poison.
Oh dear. The bad news is he's not alive. Do you want to describe how that goes, how that happens as you manage to finally...
Well, yeah, exactly. As he turns around to look at his castle, that gives me access to his neck. I can just go snick and to cut his spinal cord in the back, and that causes his undead form to collapse, as is well known. That's the way to kill liches.
Indeed. There's just a pile of seaweed out there from it. These 3 skeletons, though, unmoved by this, are still going to try and attack. So, Chesterfield, do you want to have your go now against these 3?
Well, yeah, skeletons? I mean, I'm torn between a little round of applause for Templeton's efforts with the lich and the fact that his minions are still clambering up this orb. Okay, so I'm going to dig around in my little satchel that swings from my bony shoulder and pull out my one and only vial of holy water. I'm going to sprinkle it over the heads of the skeletons as they come towards us, like a seasoning of life on undeath.
Excellent.
Like Salt Bay.
Sea salt bay.
Thank you.
I'm assuming that I haven't put any rules for holy water in your on your.
Well, I'm assuming there are no rules for holy water.
No, we'll make it up. Let's just roll me an attack type thing.
Yeah, let's see if I can hit them with this.
Try and hit them with.
See if I have the presence of mind to get the water on the skeleton.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I do.
Wow. Yeah. Give us a D6 damage. That's how we'll do this for now.
Splash effect. Burn, skellies, burn. They can take. Oh, yes. 6 large points of watery damage.
One more of the skeletons is down there. He just left with 2. Oh, Andy. I can't remember 49 others that are down below you.
Do a little dance.
As you managed to defend. There are 2 more. Isabella.
I throw my... No, I don't throw them away. I just put my pistols away and pull out my cutlass, and I'm going to attack one of the skeletons with lots of twirls and miss. So busy twirling.
Yes, I was going to. What have I told you before about that? Just attack.
She puts the pistols away and twirls round, and then remembers that she should have got the cutlass out first.
Yeah. Isabella, I've told you before, it's fine to flourish, twirling is right out.
Okay, and at that, the remaining 2 skeletons, they're going to keep fighting you because there's only like 50 of them below. They're going to keep going, I think. So the 2, I'll just roll and see who's not going to get targeted. So Chesterfield, you're safe this round.
Yes.
Templeton and Isabella, do you want to roll me the difficulty 12 agility check?
I'm so busy telling off Isabella that I neglect to defend myself against the skeleton.
You do. You'd like to take 3 damage, please.
That's fine. 'Tis but a scratch.
So these 2 are there, and it is back to your round. There are 2 skeletons, but you can see there's more of them climbing up now. maybe if you can defeat the ones here, you can make some sort of plan to make good your escape.
Indeed. Well, I shall roundly chastise this skeleton for being so ungentlemanly to attack me in the rear, and then I'm going to. Yes, that's all I'm going to do. In fact, I'm just going to be waving my saber like a teacher waving a pen as an errant pupil.
He doesn't seem impressed.
Yeah.
It's bony face that you're.
Battle of wills now. That's what, I'm not giving up.
Exactly. Chesterfield.
I wonder, whilst on top of this orb is floating, is it? Or is it just sitting?
It's not floating anymore because you've covered it over. But
exactly.
I mean...
So now, if I just think back to my circus days, if I'm on top of this orb and I start backpedaling, the orb might start rolling forward. And then I could let it crash down on top of the skeleton army and see if I can get a strike.
That sounds like a fantastic plan. What could possibly go wrong? The bit about it crashing down, but you staying on the pedestal is the key bit in that circus act.
That is,
that's so you don't land in the skeleton army. Give me DR12 agility roll for that.
Right. Well, agility is my thing, and I've also got luck on my side if I need it. And I've got exactly a 12. Will that do me?
Just enough.
Yeah.
Do you want to describe how this plays out, Ben? Because that seems like the idea that might deal with this army for now.
Yeah. So slowly at first, as a very small monkey tries to walk backwards on the top of the sphere, it starts to move forward as our various bits of clothing and stuff are cast adrift from it, and a tricorn hat falls by the feet of Isabella, and Templeton's cape makes it back onto his shoulders. And I have to do a somersault backwards to hang on to an outstretched hand from one of my colleagues as the big stone ball rolls inexorably over the edge, crushing bone and rolling out into the army as they are all thrown sideways as it makes a wedge through them all and rolls off into the distance.
I think it does indeed roll off into the distance. And obviously you're on the top of this island. There's only one way to go is downhill and into the depths of the sea. And you can see the skeletons that remain, including these two that are atop your pedestal, are beginning to move to follow it down into the briny depths. Let's just go to Isabella. You've still got these two skeletons with you here. They look as if they might try and finish you off before they get down there.
I think I'm going to get to somewhere where they're sort of lined up, and I'm going to just try and shove them off.
Go for it. Do you want to make a strength check?
Yeah, why not?
12.
Oh, I trip over my tricorn hat. I totally missed it. Had landed at my feet. I thought it was still.
So I think with using a little bit of GM fiat, I think the cool thing to happen here is that you trip up, and as they attack you now, if you want to make that agility roll, they're not trying to kill you, they're trying to like pick you up and carry you down into the sea with their fellows. No,
I've got too much fight in me.
Luckily, you sneak out and let them do it. And so, as the orb rolls off into the sea and the skeleton army goes down from there, there's another little rumble, and you see another part of the island fall into the sea. And this rumbling continues now as you hear the splash of it, as if the whole island is beginning to sink. You have succeeded in defeating Granzko, but let's just determine how you managed to escape and get off the island safely to the Unconventional and set sail again. Let's do this as a little 13th Age style montage. I think that makes sense. I think we've all done these before. We'll introduce an obstacle at each stage, and then you'll decide how you overcome it. I know we'll do it in turn and get back to me, and then your final bit will be on the ship. Feel free. Obviously, we've got the cultists, but loads of stuff on this island that you can use to do it. So you race down to try and get to your ship. The first obstacle you get is the lake that you passed. As you race down to try and get there, you see that the cage is on its side. The skeletons are abandoned there, and this huge cultist stands blocking your way and shouting, "No, it was ours to defeat the lich." Let's go to Gaz first. How do you defeat the deep priest Alaktha? is his name. He introduced himself as.
It's his name, yeah. Well, I remember like tales of John and the Whale and various other things, and clearly the way to get past a huge sea creature was to go inside it and come out the other side. So, leading the way, I'm going to dive down its massive gullet and say, "Follow me."
I mean, it worked for Chesterfield, didn't it? Before,
it did,
sort of,
did.
yeah.
Yeah. So, lathering myself in grog to make me slippery, I'm going to dive into the priest's mouth to cut off his monologue partway through. Before ultimately elbowing my way out the cloaca or whatever he's got out the back door. And yes, like emerge.
Lovely.
Too late for an next card now. So.
Yeah. I took us a little bit by surprise. Never mind.
and the priest as well, I imagine. The problem being, of course, that as we swim out the other side, one after the other, hopping out. The priest is in disarray. As we come further down, as the sea level's coming up and our boat's almost coming to meet us, that the fishy, acrid scent that we're now carrying around us, this aroma of inside fish guts, it's attracting all the fish-headed cultists who recognise the smell but are incensed when they realise it's not their high priest that they find at the end of this, but in fact a monkey, a fencer, and another young lady. So yes, I don't know. We're now like we're catnip to fish cultists.
Excellent. Isabella, how do you overcome this army of fish cultists? Who are in fact going, we thought you were our friends. There's a like tender moment of betrayal. Is that you helped us before? We thought we were friends.
I think I will reach into my satchel and whip out my fishing rod and be like, get back. And we all know the fear in which fish cultists fear upon the sight of any fishing.
They're all, don't look at the hook. Don't look at the hook.
With the shiny lure on the end.
It's flapping around.
And I'll start like casting it out and reeling it back in.
They'll trick us again.
And just create a line for us to pass through these cultists with the fearsome, terrifying
a
fishing
rod
rod.
And line, in fact.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What's the final? Oh, it's not the final obstacle, actually. What's the next obstacle you get on your journey to try and get to the ship?
I think the next obstacle on our journey is going to be there's just treasure hunters all over the place. And they're still trying to dig up treasure, and so every which way we move, there's like another hole or another head emerging from.
Yeah.
And there's just chaos before us. And they've all seen our ship as well. They have a longer way to go to theirs, so they're now all intent on making it to our ship too.
Completely. Ben, how do you overcome this horde of treasure hunters?
Thanks, Becky. Okay, how do we overcome that? I think perhaps we have to tell them a tall tale, and perhaps convince these treasure hunters that there is still treasure to be had if they're brave and bold enough, and send them down a pathway away from our ship towards some big rock that looks like a skull in a certain light, and we could say that we saw another group of prospectors there digging pearls the size of your fists out of the ground itself.
Indeed, there is another wharf that the other side of the island that's full of bilge rats. That'll attack them, and maybe this. We didn't go that side. Oh, it's right. Yeah, and they all sort of
got time.
They all back, as they're all like you're all sort of up to your ankles in seawater now as you pass towards the boat. Very clearly, this island is almost sinking. And Ben, what's the final obstacle that you face?
Okay, so I guess our boat is now significantly further up the side of the island than it used to be, isn't it? Our little jolly boat. Okay, so it's not moored anymore, essentially. So so it's drifting out to sea, and it's too far for us to just jump or wade out to.
Yeah, and even though I'm going to resolve this, I'm going to make it even harder, because now some of the skeletons have actually followed the orb into the sea, and so as you start swimming, there's bony fingers everywhere that's pulling at you, and doing it and trying to get through from that. I think there's nothing for it but for you to just swim and shout to the rest of your ship. And luckily, with the island sinking, the Unconventional can actually approach a bit closer, because with it, the reefs that ring the island do. And so your captain is able to sail closer to you and just drag you up, skeletons hanging onto your boots, onto the ship. You might have to leave the jolly boat there as the last victim of Unmoored, as it's dragged down by the skeletons, but you're able to set sail, successfully having killed the lich Granzko and rescue the treasure of Unmoored Island. Let's just cut to round this off and cut back to the port where you return to tell your tales and celebrate that evening. You have the treasures and the booty that you came from your adventure, and most importantly, you fulfilled your debt to kill the lich. Let's just go around and see what, as we pan around the port evening, what do we see each of our characters doing? There's a little epilogue to sort of tie a bow in it and tie it off. Gaz, let's start with you. Where do we see Templeton?
Yeah, he's gone back to the family estate, and it's like one of those classic Ealing comedies. So it's all in black and white, and he's in the sitting room, and his father, who's him, but with like a more heavily powdered wig and stuff on, and his mother from the portrait earlier, which is him, but with a wig on and the beauty spots. I sat there going, "You've had your adventures now, Templeton. Now you must settle down." And there's a young lady with her compare on the other side, fanning herself. As the fan comes down, it is, of course, the exact image of Templeton, but in a dress. Yeah. We've allowed your year off, and now it's time to marry. And you see him all downcast as he's having to hang up his pirate sword and continue with his family duties.
Excellent. Lovely, lovely. Becky, what do we see of Isabella as our little epilogue?
I think you see Isabella. Isabella was definitely forced onto the ship because her family were held captive, and for some political reason, the people who held her captive also wanted the lich gone. It's obviously going to help business or something, and so you see her reuniting with her father and her brother, and just looking very relieved. But at one point you see her sort of mumble something to herself as well as they're sort of all walking off, and she gets out the little monkey hand and then thinks of Chesterfield, and suddenly realizes that it looks very, very similar to the hand that Chesterfield
the opposite paw
had attached, but just pops it back in the pocket of her very delightful jacket and carries off, wandering off with her family.
Lovely, lovely. And finally, last but definitely not least, Dr. Chesterfield. What do we see of you?
Imagine a bustling urban sprawl of smog-filled bridges and townhouses, as across the bottom of the screen it says London 1666. We zoom in on one of these townhouses where we find the widow. She sits dressed all in black, playing with the embroidery on her lap, looking up occasionally at the grand piano in her room, with the photographs of her sons and daughters and family all gone. All she has left is her manservant Smithers, who politely knocks on the door, comes through, says, "Madam, we have a gentleman caller, a slightly unique gentleman caller, but a caller nonetheless." He presents his card, and on his silver tray, he bows down towards her, and on it is a banana.
Amazing. So on that note, thank you all for playing with us today. Thank you for viewing. Remember to like and subscribe, and let us know if you want to see more piratical fun. Go on other Borg games, potentially other suggestions that we can do. Be sure to check out Pirate Borg from Limitron and Unmoored on itch.io. There are, as you would expect with these kind of games, there's loads and loads of really cool little one-shot adventures and so on. So please do check them out and support them. As you can tell, it's a lot of fun as a system. So like, subscribe, and we'll see you soon for our next adventures.